Hello, I'm James, and welcome to another Jonesing for Film theatrical review. Yes, The Raven, the latest film from director James McTeigue, known mostly for directing V for Vendetta. So The Raven takes place in 19th century Baltimore. A series of grisly murders have taken place, and each has a striking resemblance to Edgar Allan Poe stories. Poe himself is then brought to the police to aid in the capture of the killer. Now, I'm not familiar with Poe's work. The only thing I do know is The Raven itself, and only because of the Simpsons Halloween episode many years ago, and I'm not even sure if that was the entire poem. So you're probably wondering why I went to a movie that centers around an author I'm unfamiliar with. Well, there's two reasons. One being that I'm a big fan of John Cusack, and the other reason is I really enjoy murder mysteries. And that was the vibe that I got from the trailer. So did The Raven meet my expectations? Well, kinda, sorta, maybe. First off, I loved Cusack's performance. Like I said earlier, I'm not familiar with Poe's works or even how he acted as an individual, but judging purely as a film character, Cusack did a fantastic job. And the rest of the acting is solid as well. Luke Evans did his part well as the detective Poe aids, Alice Eve was good as Poe's love interest Emily, and Brendan Gleeson was very enjoyable as Emily's father who doesn't really like Poe. And I really wish that the film had a few more scenes with Gleeson and Cusack just bantering, for lack of a better word. Luckily, most of Cusack's dialogue was just as quick and witty outside of the confrontations with Gleeson, so kind of balances out. The next thing the movie had going for it was the story. I love the idea of a killer using works of fiction as the basis to their crime, and then have the author of those stories hunting the killer. And that kind of leads to my next point, which is I really loved the setting. 19th century Baltimore really added a sense of mystery and a gothic tone which really helped immerse me in the story. It's such a great atmosphere. I mean, they could have modernized it and turned it into something that we've seen many times before, but setting it in a time frame where Poe was still alive, therefore having him involved in the case, is what really added to the story and the overall tone. And I love how the film is shot. McTeigue definitely knows how to direct a movie. He keeps the camera steady during the fast-paced scenes, and he doesn't zoom too close to the actors during dialogue scenes. The guy seriously needs more work. I mean, even Ninja Assassin was directed good, it just fell short on story and acting. However, the movie does have some shortcomings. For starters, the film's second half kind of drags a bit, and I think the reason why is about a quarter of the way through, another plot point is added. I don't want to mention it here, it is in the trailer, but I don't want to mention it here. I don't know if it really considers as spoilers or not. So this other plot point is added, and it meshes with the main plot, but maybe about over at the halfway point, the main focus draws closer to the second plot point, and it loses most of the original plot. The next issue is the ending to me kind of felt rushed. The last 15 minutes or so wrapped up rather quickly. And the last issue, probably the biggest, is one of the murder scenes that happened towards the beginning of the movie had this over-the-top, completely unnecessary amount of blood. Now, I don't normally mention something like this as an issue. I don't think I've ever mentioned it as a pro either. I just kind of label it as a warning, but I digress. But the thing that really bugs me about this scene is the whole film has a very serious tone. This tone is set from the opening scene and is constant throughout, except for this scene. This one certain scene is incredibly corny and rather cheesy. If it was in something like, say, The Cabin in the Woods, I probably wouldn't even mention it because that film was all about cheesy violence and goofy CGI blood. But here it really killed the mood for me for about 15 minutes or so. And throughout the rest of the film, I feared that something like it would happen again. Luckily, it doesn't, so basically it's like the filmmakers wanted to do an over-the-top violent horror movie. Then after started working with the source material, they realized it would actually be better to go for a serious mystery tone. But they still left this one scene in. So overall, I give The Raven a good. Despite its focus shift midway through, the film still does have a decent mystery. I would recommend it as a rental, not something you need the theatrical experience for. So that is my review of The Raven. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe. Also, don't forget to visit me on Facebook and check out my blog. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next review.